Hey everybody, Ethan with Hey Buckle Outdoors here today. We're going to be going over whether classic or modern EDC knives are better, the attributes of both, the pros and cons of each. So let's get into it. Hey, didn't see you there. Real quick before we jump into today's video, please do me a huge favor and check to make sure you're still subscribed. And if you're not subscribed, go ahead and smash that subscribe button. Like, share, comment, notification bell, all that stuff. YouTube's been hitting the channel really hard with unsubscribing people by the dozen, not promoting the videos in the channel feed. Definitely, please help us out and do those things for me. Thanks. Today, I'm going to be talking about 4 different EDC knives that I've been carrying on and off for about the last year. Going from, I guess, your right to my left, or my left to your right, the Buck 110 Hunter. This is the Buck 373 right next to it, kind of like a smaller, more simple-minded EDC blade. We have the Benchmade Axis Flipper right here, this blue guy, and then the Civivi Elementum. So definitely 4 very interesting blades. We're going to dive in and figure out which one should you carry. So starting out with these two, right? I'm a huge fan of Buck knives. The great thing is most of them are made in America. I'm going to have to check. I'm going to do a full review over this Buck 373 Plus because honestly, it's a very interesting knife, and I love carrying this when I'm going around town. And I don't want to have a big old, knife strapped to my hip or whatever. Or if I'm, going out to dinner at a nice restaurant, I want to carry a knife on me, but I don't want it to be printing in my dress pants pocket. I can carry something like this very inconspicuously and not have to worry about that, especially in certain areas that tend to have stricter laws with carrying weapons, pocket knives, whatever. Something like this is more, under the radar, more gray man, as they would say. The great thing about this blade, grab some paracord real quick, it's still just as capable as most of your other knives, right? So it's the paracord, slice through that pretty good. And you do have several different blades. So the great thing about older knives like these, yeah, they're not lockbacks, but you can get more versatility, right? So you've got different things on there for carving or doing different tasks. Something like this, heck, you could even use, this is an all-purpose outdoors tool. You got 3 different knives for 3 different tasks. I will say I do believe this is stainless. I think it's still 420 high carbon. I'll have to check on that. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. But something like this is great if you just want to have a knife that's small, slim, that you can carry and not have to worry about, it being too big. It's definitely classy too, right? I mean, you got the brass and kind of like the redwood on there. Very, very nice. Now, moving on to another one of my favorites. I've carried this guy on and off for about a year. It was my grandpa's favorite knife, the Buck 110, right? Classic design. Been around for over 60 years. I mean, that 420 high carbon, the great thing about this clip point, you can get this thing so razor sharp in a way that's not as easy with some more modern super steels like S30V, S35VN. So having something like this definitely lends itself well. It's not as high quality of a steel, but you can get a better edge on it. And in my opinion, if I had to carry something with me in the outdoors to clean small game, clean fish, something like this definitely would be up there on my list compared to some of the other knives. You do have brass bolsters and ebony, and you do have the classic lockback design that this knife actually revolutionized for the knife world. So now the cons to this, no pocket clip anywhere. I don't know if you can see that. And step back so you can see it does come with a leather sheath, which I love, but if I'm going around town, I don't want to wear something on my belt that stands out. This is a little heavy, it's kind of bulky, and there's no pocket clip. Yeah, you can carry it in your pocket, but in today's day and age, having a pocket clip is definitely nice. Let's take a look at some of the more modern knives. Getting into the more modern side, we have the Benchmade Axis Flipper, like I was saying, in the Civivi Elementum. I believe all of Benchmade stuff is made in the US, which is I'm a big fan of. And Civivi is obviously a Chinese brand, so do with that information what you will. This Benchmade, this is actually their first flipper design. It's actually discontinued, unfortunately. You can't get it anymore. I got this from a friend, traded some stuff. Definitely not the smoothest. You do need to have the flick of the wrist action, if you know what I mean. 154 cm though, so definitely not as good as S30V, but you know, a little bit better, slightly better, and a little bit, I would say, better rust resistance than the 420 high carbon, which is a form of stainless steel, but still, I've noticed with 154, you're not going to get as much rust. I've had 3 different Benchmades now that have had this steel. I carried one on my last deployment down to the South Pacific, and there was obviously rust because you're just around the ocean all the time, but it was very manageable. And I think with something like a 420 high carbon, or like a 1066, 1056, any of those like lower end tool steels, you're gonna have more issues. Now I will say something about the more modern knives, like I was mentioning with the Buck, you do have the pocket clip. Now I'm not the biggest fan of this. I wear like utility pants to work every single day, so I don't really have to worry so much. But if you want like a more streamlined design, you might have to. As you can see, that pocket clip there is not, it's not small by any stretch of the imagination. The good thing is for lefties like me, I still need to do this actually, is you can flip it to the other side so it can fit in your pocket, like pull it out and go to work. I will say, I'm gonna get butchered for this in the comments, but the crossbar lock, or gosh, the axis lock or whatever, I'm a big fan of that. It's definitely different. Now it's nice too, especially you're cutting something. For example, you know, make a little spear point or something. And the capability is definitely there with these pocket knives to do stuff around the home as well as in the backcountry. So I definitely love that. I think that's something that you should look for in most of your tools. But you're done. You can have a one-hand deployment compared to, I mean, you can get thumb studs for this, but you know, it's damn near impossible for me to do it one-handed. So there's opening it, and then let's see if I can. See, you need 2 hands. So that's something that you're going to get with the more modern blades, is not having to use 2 hands, which most times you can, but there might be a situation where, you know, you having to cut something, you know, while holding something down, whatever. For example, cleaning fish, I'm like, oh, damn, I need to close this tool and grab something else, whatever, what have you. So definitely a lot better than bring out 2 examples for, like, you know, larger sized EDC pocket knives and, you know, kind of smaller size. So where is that other blade that I had, that 373 by the Buck? So my Civivi here, I did carry this for a little while. Not the biggest fan. I will say it holds a great edge. It's D2 steel. Nice thin profile on that blade. It just, you know, kind of fell out of favor with me. I just kind of wanted to get something else in the rotation. So as soon as I, you know, stopped carrying this, I picked up this Buck. And as you can see, obviously this one is significantly larger, but as you can see, from the tip of the handle to the point of the blade, they're very similar in size. Say probably within about 1 inch or so. So that's what got me thinking, is having the 2 examples of, you know, classic versus modern. Again, having that one-hand deployment. And this is so way smoother than that Benchmade I was just talking about. Like, hardly any action needed. The good news is you can't own this in the state of California where I'm at, because it's, you know, you're doing all the action by yourself. Again, you have the reversible, let me close this real quick, the ambidextrous pocket clip, so nothing to complain about there. It is a lot more low profile, and putting it in my pocket, I can do it one-handed. Definitely not really any issues there. And one thing I did notice, this is D2, which, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not sure if that's stainless. It looks like it, so it probably is. I'm not an expert on my metallurgy, so I don't get on my butt about it. You do have a lanyard hole here. For example, if you're going to be working on like a construction site and you want a utility knife, something like this, you can like strap this to your, or hook this via paracord or something else to your belt. That way, if God forbid you drop it, it's just going to go a few feet and come back. Now, I will say, this is pretty smooth texture. I forget. I think this is G10 on the handles. I could be wrong. It's been a while since I've done the review on this, so all the details are kind of escaping me. I will say it has not loosened up, but you know, it was pretty stiff. You know, a little bit more difficult to open up and close once I first got it, but now not so bad. And the great thing about this blade profile that this is the only example I've ever owned from Civivi, but you do have pretty good edge retention on this guy. It's not the best. Obviously, I use a knife every single day, so it's going to wear down that probably within the span of about 2 weeks, and I'll have to you know, hone that up again, but not too bad. I will say it's pretty strong. Let's put it through a test just to show the basic zip tie on this stick that I found. And pretty simple, just like that. We cut straight through it. Check the edge. I don't know if you guys can see that. Kind of put my hand in the focus of the camera. I'm not noticing any dings. And, you know, on a daily basis, I'm having to do a lot with different, you know, cutting zip ties, stuff like that. So it's nice to have a knife that I'm not so worried about whether it's going to get beaten to death by doing those kind of tasks. The last thing I want to talk about with the modern and classic knives is aesthetic, right? If I carry something every day, you know, I want it to look good. I want to, you know, there's an aspect of style to it as well. There is something extremely sexy and beautiful about these classic style knives. I mean, obviously the Buck 110 is an excellent example, but name your other picks, right, of the classic folding pocket knives. Now, obviously, something like this is, you know, it's going to hold up for as long as you take care of it. If you don't leave it outside and let it rust to pieces, you're going to be able to pass this down to your kids and your grandkids. I know I have one of these from my grandfather. Honestly, it's probably about 60 years old. You know, that's something you don't necessarily get with the newer knives, polymer and steel construction, but, you know, brass, which is extremely heavy. I mean, I've used this thing as a hammer several times. Obviously, with the more modern knives, you don't get that to the same extent, but you do get, you know, kind of the versatility of modern, what the technology of, you know, the 21st century brings about. So polymer, G10, micarta, different construction. Obviously, with that buck that I was just holding, it's extremely slick. So if you get, you know, if you're cleaning game and you get some blood on your hands, or it's a wet environment out, you're gonna have to worry about that and work around that a little bit more. Obviously, with this, I forget what these are. I think they might be G10 handle scales, but definitely very nice. And the cool thing is, with that buck, it's pinned in place with those handles. With this, you've got what looks to be hex keys, so I can, you know, get a tool set for my house, open this up, clean out the liners, make sure I'm not getting rust or anything crazy. Or if I want different handle scales, I'm sure somebody makes aftermarket parts, so that's something nice. And just, you know, a lot of times too, we don't want to carry something as heavy as this Buck 110, because I'll be honest, this weighs probably twice as much as the Benchmade, maybe more. And, you know, it's, you know, for most people, you're not going to notice it, but after a while, it might just be an annoyance. Because what I've always looked at, the same thing with carrying like a firearm or something, if it's too heavy and too cumbersome, you're not going to carry it every single day if it's too much of an inconvenience. So having something that's a little bit lighter, like some of these newer knives, that's a lot lighter and more streamlined, can definitely lend itself to be more convenient and carryable. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed watching this video as much as I enjoyed filming it. Please do me a huge favor again. Subscribe if you had not already. Like, share, comment, hit that notification bell, and I will see you beautiful people on the next episode.